Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Wicked Horror Show. I'm Kevin, and as always, I'm joined by Tony Has Nine Fingers.
What is going on, people?
And every other week, we're joined by the 13th Wolfman.
Oh, everybody.
Yeah, there's that. And Tony, would you like to introduce our very special guests?
Sure. From the movie Witness Infection, we have director Andy Palmer, who's been on a few times for different movies.
That's right. Yes.
And we have, actually, like 3 or 4 at least.
3 times,
Yeah.
And playing Vince in the movie, we have Vince Donvito.
What's going on, guys?
How are you?
Thanks for coming on. It was it was a fun movie. Like I was all excited about it when I saw there's so many cool names in this movie that are legends in my eyes, and it's like this is great. They're all here. Like a lot of voice actors that you don't really get to see like in front of the camera as much.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, it's a really cool project and it's funny. And so Andy, would you like to maybe just give a little synopsis about what the movie's about?
Sure. So Witness Infection is about 2 rival mob families from New Jersey that are accidentally witness relocated to the same town in California, Lake Elsinore. And they kind of, because they're the only mob families in town, they're constantly jawing at each other. So to create a peace, the son of one has to marry the daughter of the other, which ultimately gets upended because the zombie apocalypse starts. So it's a little Romeo and Juliet. It's a little mobster comedy, and then also some zombie stuff thrown in for good effect. Yeah,
some cool zombie stuff. And
really fun.
and Vince, your character is well, there's a lot of comic relief in this movie, but your character is a lot of comic relief. Like pretty much whenever he opens his mouth, it's something that I'm like, that's good, you know. So yeah, it was I really enjoyed it. So
good.
Yeah, I mean, even looking at your IMDb, you've done a lot. Do you do a lot of comedy, or are you?
I do. It's very interesting because there's not a lot of comedy out there to do. So when you get an opportunity like this, especially the role that I was worked on, you're sort of trying to hit it out of the park without trying. But I do. But the guys and girls that I'm working with are literally specialists. They're comic assassins, and most of them sometimes just have the opportunity to do it just with their voice.
Yes.
It was quite the experience, especially working with Brett Ernst, who is a stand-up comic. He's got one of the lead roles in the Cobra Kai reboot, and he does touring dates all over the country. So he pops on set. Then Erin Hayes pops on set. She just did 2 seasons of Medical Police, and
she did Children's Hospital, and she did she's great.
Yeah, she did the Kevin James James show.
Correct. So
Kevin
and one of our producers, co-writers, and leads, Carlos Alasraki, who, the guy cannot open his mouth without you laughing. He is the Andy, stick up, chime in on this. Carlos is one of the absolute funniest people I know. Whether you're going to watch, sports with him or at game night, you literally have to wear Depends because he just cracks you up all the time.
Yeah.
We've actually had him on a couple times. Yeah, we've had him on the show. Yeah.
Carlos is like never off. He's just like
Yeah.
rattling voices. Like it's just like you see his mind. His like eyes are like a slot machine of ideas, just kind of like going.
The other producer on the show and writer was Jill. I don't want to screw up her last name, so I'm just Million. Thank you. Yeah, she was on Mad TV.
Yeah.
Along with doing a lot of other stuff, and the young lady that played Rose, I know her from like a really obscure movie.
My sister had just seen the movie a few days ago. This is great. You get the opportunity to do a huge part in a movie, and your family waits 2 weeks before they see it. So I was mining her for feedback, also known as compliments. And she said that Rose, besides her brother, she said that Rose was her favorite. Rose got into Monique Coleman, who is just a powerhouse. She comes into the movie, and there's all these great jump cuts, and everything stops, and she's got that sawed-off shotgun pointed at our face, and she just kills it.
It's so funny. It's so funny too because she's got this great monologue when you meet her character. And she's talking about how she's not going to go down like Yaphet Kotto, and she's not going to go. And I'm waiting for your character, who is a movie buff, to look back at her and go, but what about Kincaid from Nightmare on Elm Street 3? And what about Ken Foree from Dawn of the Dead?
Well, we're going to have to we should talk to the writers on, when we do Witness Infection 2. But I do get to, chime in with the George Romero Night of the Living Dead comment afterwards. But it's only because we're freaked out because she has a double barrel shotgun pointed at our face.
And
that would have been really funny if Vince cuts it. He's like, let's talk about all the black people that did die in the movies here. But that was Monique was awesome. She did come in and she had this huge monologue, and that bar that we shot in was it was an Elks Lodge, and they let us shoot there from 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. And at 4 p.m., that Elks Lodge opened, and there were people outside, and we had to be like wheels up, everybody out, and so they were really short days.
Speaking of wheels up, so that particular Elks Lodge, and I actually shot another movie in there, but that particular Elks Lodge is literally on the approach path to LAX to the airport. So during any long take, you're guaranteed that a plane was going to come over, and it literally takes, if you're shooting for 10 hours, it adds another 2 hours to your day because of the air traffic. And it's so frustrating because as you guys probably know, if a plane is literally 5 miles away, and this is LAX, so there are huge jets coming in, you're like, there's, the sound guys are, there's a plane, and everybody stops. So we love the Elks Lodge, and we hate the Elks Lodge.
She just it was like 2 or 3 takes, and she was like, it was done, and we were like, okay, repo the cameras, and it was just everybody, short days, and everybody was so on their game, and she just came in and delivered, and across the board, all the reviews have been just.
She was great. She's one that I would like to. I wanted to see more of her.
For sure.
Yeah, I love too that when you pan by, you see her Employee of the Month photo, and she's like a wicked dork. It's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great. Just real quick, one of our regulars, Sergio, was in the chat room, and he wanted to make sure everyone knew that he's saying hi. So, hi, Sergio. And
hi, Sergio.
Yeah, and it's a really fun time, and I'm assuming that Carlos was able to get because he had Maurice LaMarche in there, he had Tara Strong in there. So these are all people, for those who are listening and watching, if you don't know, they're the voice of your youth for the most part. Everything down from Pinky and the Brain to Power Rangers,
Rocko's Modern Life.
Rocko's Modern Life. So it's like I'm a fan of voice actors in general, so that's what I was saying before, where it's good to see them in front of the camera from time to time, a little more often, would be nice, because I know that they can act their balls off, because they do it all the time for the cartoons, and now they're visibly doing it. And I've luckily been able to go to a couple conventions where some of them have been, and gone to a Q&A, and they like light up the room. It's amazing. These people are just so talented. And I mean, I guess it's good too. They can walk down the street, and most people wouldn't know them, but they're huge. They're huge career.
So I've been friends with Carlos for many, many years, and it's again, as we were mentioning, that the jokes, the ideas, the voices come out of his head nonstop. He's one of the most amazing people to be around. Maurice LaMarche, same thing. I mean, he just is the gravitas, and in the movie, he's incredible. Tara Strong, Rugrats, Powerpuff Girls, Harley Quinn,
Teen Titans.
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes on and on. Tara's actually filming a television show now, which is on CNT.
CBC, right?
Thank you.
CBC.
And so she's back on camera again.
Nice.
But she is unbelievable. I was able to actually do a TV pilot with both Maurice and Tara this last year. So I got to work with them again, and sort of having Witness Infection under our belt together. They're so much fun. And the fact that they don't get more on-camera work is amazing to me, because they come on set and deliver without question.
Yeah.
And it really seems that way too. Like it seemed like there was a nice, like, close-knit group of friends. Like you can tell, like, you guys are comfortable around each other. Especially because some of the stuff.
It was a challenge for me, because like I didn't cast a person in this movie. Like usually the director has a lot to do with the casting. I like to pride myself on really casting so that I don't have to do a lot of work on set, because I don't,
Oh,
Andy's spinning. He's autistic, so when he goes around.
So while we're waiting for Andy to come back, one of the things I want to ask you about, and I'm going to go back to your movie quotes in this movie. How much of that was you, and how much of that was script? I mean, when you're like, oh, George Romero, Night of the Living Dead, 1960.
Most of the actual movie references are scripted. There were a lot of stuff that went on in the car, sort of the moving stuff where we're traveling from place to place. What my favorite ad lib is when we're outside the bar and the door is locked, and I pick up the brick, and I think I said something like Goldilocks and not Goldilocks and the Three Bears, or Goldilocks and the Three Pigs. I'll huff and puff.
Yeah.
I mix up two nursery, children's stories. Just things, but everyone on that set is so quick, either because of voiceover or because they're stand-up comics. You can't sit down, even when you're waiting between scenes. You're just thinking, you're going, I gotta get in there. I gotta get in. And Andy was just so kind to let us have some freedom. But Andy, you were saying about not being able to. We basically cast Andy.
That was it. It was like, these are Carlos and Jill's closest friends, and they came in and they were like, "Here's who's playing who," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I might want to have I have somebody," and they're like, "No, this is who's playing who." And I was like, "All right." And really, honestly, the only conversation I had to have, it was like a couple days before we shot. I had a meeting with Carlos and Jill, and it was this is classic Carlos. Is that like, I'm like, guys, I have. It's really important that we all meet. I'm gonna have to go. I want to go over some stuff right before we start shooting. And Jill's like, well, we'll meet at my house, and I was like, great. So I get to Jill's house, and then Carlos calls in, and he's like, I can't make it. I'll be on the phone. This is all fine though. And it was just like, but it was so important. Okay, fine. But it was just like, Carlos was just like, I'm on the phone, I'm on my motorcycle, but I can hear everything you're saying. But I told him, I said, guys, like, this is going to be the hardest part, is that, you guys know all these folks. And when we start making adjustments and we start changing things, they're going to look to you because they know you. And I was like, you need them to look to me, because if we have too many people throwing around ideas, we will never make our days ever. And so I was like, that's the one thing that has to happen, is that like everybody's gonna look to me, and then we'll come up with ideas and stuff like that. If you have ideas, you know, whisper in my ear, and then we'll do it. And they were awesome. Jill and Carlos were great. And as soon as that kind of like, as we just established everything, then you're allowed to play, and everything moves around at a nice clip and stuff like that. But that was the one thing I was really worried about, was that everybody was just going to be like, so Carlos, what do you think about this? And you're like, oh, I'll be over here pointing the camera, I guess, at somebody, you know.
And Carlos
director over here.
Yeah, Carlos was really great about when he was on set as a producer, sort of staying either on a monitor or really behind the scenes. And then when we were on a break, he'd sort of come by and he would just nod his head and look at, and he would just go, you know, you guys good, keep up the energy, good work. Yeah. So he was really great. And then, you know, he just freaked out about making our days money-wise.
Yeah.
Now,
sorry, go ahead, Tony.
Now, I was just going to say, because how many times have we had, you know, people on and they talk about, you know, the craziness behind set and all that stuff, you know, weather-wise or whatever, trying to make. Now, with a whole bunch of comedians, is it one of those things where now you have 10 extra like takes because how many people are laughing at the one-liners and stuff? That might take a little bit longer too. Not that it's, you know, anyone's fault, but you're saying that, you know, Carlos, he opens up his mouth and everyone's laughing. So, you know, sometimes you take 15 extra takes because, you know.
But you got to remember, they got those planes coming in.
It's a tough dragon. Yeah, you're riding the line always, like with comedy, because you're constantly just being like, what is the right tone of this scene, you know? Because it's like you have these like incredibly talented people and all this energy, and comedians especially are just like, it's ideas. Oh, we could do this. Oh, we could do this. And you have to like are constantly be like cognizant of like how much time we have left in the day. Do we have time for another take? Do we have time for another setup? And stuff like that, and still allow and not stifle your talent. Like it's the worst thing in the world for a director to be like, no, really, we gotta move on. Like that's the shittiest thing to say to an actor if they have a great idea and you're like, nope, sorry, we gotta pull up the stakes and move on to the next thing. And so it's like you're constantly riding that line.
And you also got to worry about whether it's going to flow with the rest of it, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, if you do get it all recorded and all that, you know, and then you look at it and you go, well, it doesn't work. And you cut it, and then someone's going, man, what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I like the other movies that we've had you on for, Andy. This is a completely different kind of movie as well. Yeah. So that, you know, have you ever done like more of like a comedy before?
Well, that's my first love. Comedy is my first love. Like nice. my favorite movie of all time is Roxanne. Like I think it's a perfect film.
Nice.
So I got into film wanting to do comedies, and then the genre stuff sort of happened through. We had my producing partner and I had produced a romantic drama for my buddy, and it was so difficult to sell. And we were like, well, let's go into genre stuff because it's a little easier to do low budget genre stuff without names and stuff. And then we just really fell in love with the horror community. I mean, the horror community is amazing. And you start making these films and really like, I love the horror genre, but I think I love it more because I love the people in the genre, you know, and interacting with folks at conventions and making stuff that, you know, I don't know, the people are just so cool. And but I always try to get back to comedy. I mean, Funhouse Massacre, you know, was a horror comedy. Cold Brook has some light moments, but it's more kind of a straight up thriller. But getting back to doing this, and this is real. This is like more broad comedy. It was
but it still has the little taste of horror in there, like the cool.
For sure. Like with Jim doing the effects, you can't go wrong, man. He just nailed those makeup effects.
We had a really terrific special effects team, Jim Ojala and his crew. I mean, you had to see. So you know, obviously we're on a low budget movie. And in one of our big trailers, we've got special effects and wardrobe, and they're prepping all of these Andy, what would the
like the boils?
Prosthetics.
The prosthetics.
He's like, yeah,
and they're
boils.
sort of like on hangers all over the trailer, and you've got one special effect guy going like, "I've got to bloody this." I mean, they really, but they never held us up.
No.
When we were
Jim was
shooting,
I mean, yeah, working with Jim was really similar to working with Kurtzman's crew on Funhouse.
Candy.
And Kurtzman's, fucking legendary.
Hmm.
But yeah, Jim's team was just they were ready all the time because Jim's a director too, and he gets it. Makeup, effects makeup is always the one that are like, oh, I need 10 more minutes and stuff like that. And no, never. They were on it all the time.
The one time I think we had the longest holdup was the prop guys one time took the deer carcass off of the car, and we needed it on the car, and it just
they had to remount it.
Rigged very specifically to keep it high enough, and so I think that was our. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It was really the only time we ever were like down. Yeah, I mean it's just it was 15 days, so it was just like there was never a minute that you could not have that camera running.
That particular night we were in Temecula at the winery, which was a friend of a friend, and it's this beautiful, beautiful location. And the crew gets there, the actors get there, and we're as I'm sure you guys, when you see a new place, you're like, oh wow, look at this, and look, there's this lake, and there's this canopy and a gazebo, and there's an ostrich and a zebra, and we go, how do we get this? And well, it's a friend of one of the producers and a friend of our set guy, and they go, yeah, it's no worries, we're here all night, don't worry about it. And a car pulls up. It happened to be the owner's dad, who still owns the place, and he's like, what are you guys doing here?
Yeah, it's just like lights everywhere and stuff. And he's like, I'm sorry, you guys are who? And it was pretty funny.
Because it literally looked like we had just sort of plopped in and we're like, well, we're just going to shoot a movie here tonight while you're
We're student film. We're just shooting a student film. Don't even worry about it.
Band of gypsies,
Yeah. The gypsy filmmakers that just go from winery to winery making films.
I've been to Temecula, and that's a beautiful part of California.
I was there during those scenes. I was just like, I want to check that place out. I'm like,
Lake Elsinore is
nice
beautiful
place to be.
Yeah, it was a great place to film. Everybody was so nice. Like the woman Shayana, who owned the dog groomer place, and like the woman across the street that owned the beauty salon. I literally was just driving around Elsinore looking for locations, and we just happened to find. And then Vince's DeValio's Mexican Grill was this restaurant right behind them, and everybody was like, I guess you can come film, sure, why not, And it was like, and it just worked. I mean, it was literally like a back lot where we were just like bouncing between these three places. Yeah,
the dog groomer was here. The sausage truck was literally parked 10 feet away from it.
Yeah.
The Mexican restaurant was attached to, like, it was 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. I mean, it was like it was written in the movie, and that on an indie film never happens. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
now, ironically, the exterior of the bar, CC's, was this like biker bar at the top of the mountain in Lake Elsinore. But the inside was tiny. Like you couldn't have shot the movie in there. And so we ended up doing the interior at the Elks Lodge here in Los Angeles. So,
that was something I thought was funny, where it said CC's and then it said Cowboy Cavern.
Yeah, it's
I'm like
CC's Cowboy. What? I can't remember.
Cowboy Cavern.
Yeah, no, it's Cowboy. What the heck is it?
Let's go to the videotape.
Cowboy's Tavern. The actual name of the bar is Hell's Kitchen, though.
I just thought it was funny because it's like you have at the top CC's, then you have like what it was, with 2 C's. I'm like, so are they? Is that's like saying Mickey D's McDonald's?
Yeah.
In redundance, let's do it again, land.
Yes.
Yeah. When you said CC's, like automatically, I was thinking of that like horrible pizza buffet place.
Yeah, it's a pizza buffet. Yeah.
Yeah, now, CC's Pizza and Salad or whatever.
The place, though, Hell's Kitchen, where we shot the exterior, they call it Hell's Kitchen because inside they have a salsa bar inside of a coffin.
Oh,
so
cool.
it's like an open casket, and then the salsa bar was in there.
It's pretty. You saw the ad that we played before the show. Deadly Grounds Coffee. When they go to conventions, they have a coffin. They drive up in a hearse. They have a coffin filled with coffee.
Nice.
And, it's awesome. Yeah, they're great.
I still need to get that coffee. If I'm coming out to Mass in 2 weeks, then I'm getting that coffee from you.
Okay, I'll reach out to Tom and I will get you some.
So
and
one of the
didn't Kevin tell you that we're going to be receiving gift baskets tomorrow morning?
No one tells me that. They save that for the talent. They save that for the actors.
I think it was when your internet went down a couple of minutes ago. Yeah.
Oh, he's gone. Here's the deal.
You're getting not be part of it anymore. Sorry.
Missed it again.
Yeah, so we do have the trailer for the movie. So I want to play that. I was going to play the one from the festival that you guys did the premiere. It seemed like there was a little bit more gore in that one, but
there's a little more gore. Yeah.
Yeah, but I pulled the regular one.
Funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I pulled that one. So here we go. Is the trailer for Witness Infection? I almost said Witness Infection Program. So just Witness Infection, which is streaming now on Amazon Prime.
Prime, iTunes, Vudu, Fandango now, all those good
Is it going to be getting a physical release?
Yes, it is, and it's going to be. It's kind of like Cold Brook. The physical is going to be delayed. It'll all be online, but it'll be on Best Buy. It'll be on Walmart. It'll be on all the things, but it's all online now.
Cool. All right, so here's the trailer for Witness Infection.
Vince, we gotta go. Carlo needs our help. Let's go.
I have to marry Patricia Miola.
Hi, honey.
And I gotta get her pregnant, or we're all going to war. Is this right, or did I just wake up in Game of Thrones?
Probably his son.
If you don't do this, the Miolas, they're gonna keep coming. They're gonna go after you. Jeez. Don't that. They're gonna go after your friends. Daggers were my specialty. Of course, I was 14 years old. I was at the Y. And then they're gonna kill me.
The small town of Lake Elsinore, California is suffering what many are calling an apocalyptic end of the world type illness.
Oh! Holy, is that you?
Is your cousin back on meth?
Are you guys seeing this? We are being chased by zombies!
You are
Such a double standard when you use the B word.
Zombies. What a crazy, stupid day.
Holy
Whoa.
Here's your shine box.
Down.
I don't think this is gonna help.
There you go. Here's your shine box. That's that, like when you said that, I laughed literally out loud. I'm like,
Yeah. Vince
that's one that I quote all the time.
Vince was so excited for that.
Every Italian guy from the Bronx's dream to quote, a movie from Scorsese.
Yeah.
Can I just tell you a little bit about? We had mentioned our fantastic FX guy and crew, Jim Ojala. Andy, you tell me if I'm overstepping my bounds. That shot, I was picking out guts inside my shoe for the remainder of that day. It was so the reaction that Jill has in that her reaction when she gets hit with it, she's literally getting hit with stuff. It was great. We had one shot.
It was twofold because it was like we did the gag, and that the gag was like the thing on the blood on the head, and Jim created like a whole model for Eric and stuff like that, and he smashes it. But the second thing, the thing that hits Jill is it's a guacamole gun. It's like literally like this like kind of paintball-esque gun with guts and banana peels and all sorts of crazy shit in it.
Blood cannon.
And so we were like, well, we need to go in the back. We need to test it to make sure like what the pressure or the right pressure is. And so we go in the back of the bar, and Jim gives it about 3 pumps, and he launches the first one into this cardboard box and blows the back of the cardboard box. And I was like, well, not that many pumps, Jill was there, so she's standing next to our stunt coordinator, and she's like, is it supposed to do that? Dave's like, not that much. And so it became like 1 pump, but Jill is at that point, like, she's like this, like waiting for that blood to hit her in the face. And her reaction was so damn natural. It was crazy.
Yeah.
The ghost of Brandon Lee came right before us in that.
Not at all. We were 100% stunt coordinator on set, 100% safe the whole time.
Thank God her head wasn't a cardboard box.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
But that's guacamole gun. Is that what you called it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that what they're called?
I that's what I've heard them be called before. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
I've heard potato guns and blood cannons and
Yeah.
But this movie, I swear, I mean, anyone that sees this movie, there's so many instant quotable lines. You go out and you see like Ghostbusters, back in '84, and you're like, "Is this true?" "Yes, sir. He is a dick." You walk out, you have these lines. Here, it's the same thing. That's my cousin. I think that's my cousin Paulie. Is he on meth again?
Yeah.
I mean,
even just the opening scene, like the one guy in the tent. Like I was trying to remember what he said, but he's like, "Get out of here!" Like every time he's like, he was saying something, and it was like kind of contradicting itself, and I was like, "That's fantastic."
Yeah.
But and then Maurice with the best character names ever, Assy and Gassy.
Yeah.
I just loved it, man.
I'm so glad, bro.
One of the dogs in the movie, from reading the very end of the movie, one of the dogs in the movie passed, Mr. Lucky.
Mr. Jack.
Mr. Jack.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was Jill's dog, and he didn't pass during the movie. It was months after, but yeah, I mean, he was really special. He was the sweetest dog ever.
Which one was that dog in the movie?
Little cute
little terrier, right?
Yeah, the Prince Charles Terrier, yeah, or Spaniel.
He's Mr. Georgesman's dog.
Is he the one that in the hallway and the arm comes out and pulls it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So,
yeah, that was a very. I was just like, how are you getting that dog to stay still for so long?
He was amazing. Literally, just stared. And it was a one take. And yeah, and then we actually had for the yank away. They bought like a stuffed King Charles, and we just at the last in one take, he just yanks away the stuffed dog. So you just just a little camera trickery there.
Nice. Well,
isn't the one thing they said don't work with animals or children or whatever? Isn't that like the main rules of movies?
Deals, my friend.
No, all the dogs were amazing in this movie. Like these weren't like trained like John's trained animals came in. It was Jill's dog. It was Greg, our production designer's dog. And then Shayana, the owner of the dog groomer place, that dog, the bigger dog that was on the table that Vince was taking care of, that was her dog. And he literally every take just stood there, did nothing. My dogs have been freaking out.
Yeah.
Well, he is the owner of a dog grooming place, so I mean, all he had to do is just stand there. I mean, he's probably done that a billion times.
Yeah.
So you guys were saying before that, before everything kind of shut down, you were able to go to the premiere it was in Canada, right? How was that?
San Antonio.
Oh, I thought it was something.
No, it was the Ha Comedy Arts Festival, which is a big Latino stand-up comedy festival. But that's where Jill and Carlos met like 8 years ago.
Oh, really?
And so when we finished the movie, they reached out to the guy that runs it, Jeff Valdez, right? Mm-hmm. Is that right? Yeah. And they reached out to Jeff and they were like, "Hey, we met at this festival. We have this movie," and they were so kind. They let us premiere the festival there. So we, it was great. We premiered the movie and then we got to go watch just amazing stand-up comics the rest of the weekend.
I'm jealous.
Yeah,
I love stand-up. I think the last time we were talking to Carlos, I think he was actually talking about trying to get going back into stand-up.
Yeah.
Has he been doing that?
Yeah, he performed at the festival there.
Nice. Well, I know like now it's kind of tough. Like everyone from California, all the comics from California have like moved to San Antonio, or was it San Antonio?
Yeah,
or Austin.
Yeah.
No, they moved to Austin. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So I mean, it's tough now because it's nothing's really open out there. But
although I would say, I have a lot of friends that are stand-ups, and I'm so proud of like the stand-up. Like they really I don't know. Stand-up comedians are amazing to me because most of them are hugely scarred individuals with the biggest hearts on the face of the planet.
Yeah.
And these guys, when COVID hit, like all they were thinking about was like, how do we make people laugh? And like my buddy Skylar Stone is a stand-up comic, and he basically created this whole like they found this like backyard venue, and he does these like secret. He books like amazing, like he's got Tiffany Haddish coming and a bunch of other people this next week. And he does it in this backyard venue, completely social distance. Everybody has masks. He sells it out really quick, and then it's just like everybody just got together and figured out ways to get people.
That's the thing. I'm hoping that things change soon enough for California, because there's a lot of stuff that just isn't happening from what I hear. Then again, I'm on this side of the country, but yeah, I mean, at one point I can understand the relocation to Austin, but at the other point I'm just like, you just abandoned where you just were able to hone your craft. Like I don't know, Joe Rogan went there and then everyone just followed him. But I don't know, whatever.
It's tough. It
is. They want to work. Like that's the thing is they want to work. Yeah.
It's just crazy expensive, and they're we have a lot of issues with. Taxes are insane, and like like I'm super fucking liberal, but I'm like pay taxes, but like even me, I'm like, really, is it this many? Is it this? Do we have to do this many taxes? Because this seems like a lot, like it gets, and it's like, what is exactly this going to?
Yeah.
We've had a really tough.
My wife and I are thinking about moving out. With things going remote, and it's just I don't know. It's tough.
So, Cal,
sorry to bring everything down, guys.
Man, jeez.
We're going to Tony's house.
That's right. We're all moving to Tony's house.
You're all welcome
to Jersey.
Although it's pretty rough these days.
Yeah,
I mean, everywhere is.
The sausage smelled like that because it was in Jersey.
That's right. That was a Ben Bagley impromptu. Does it smell like that in Jersey?
Yes.
I was like, oh my god.
I noticed it because I've only been to Jersey like a handful of times, and like literally me and Leo were driving to Jersey to go to a convention, and we were driving, and I just like, what is that smell? And then we literally saw the Welcome to New Jersey. I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm like, it's totally like accurate. This is great.
The irony about New Jersey is it has some of the best beaches in the entire world up and down the Jersey shore. And Jersey gets such a bad rap because the Jersey Turnpike is very industrial. So when you drive through New Jersey, it's a trucking route because it's I-95. It goes right through the center of the state. And if you would go 5 miles off of the turnpike, you'd go, this is not so bad. But it's just because it's on the turnpike.
That's the thing is like it was just the smell. Like other than that, I thought it was beautiful. Like I thought that we went to Red Bank. And I thought Red Bank was really nice. And I was like, I would come here on vacation. Like, this place is really cool. I like this place. But yeah, I was just making fun because it's fun too. And I like to give Tony crap. But anyway.
Yeah, we're definitely the armpit of the country. Certain parts for sure. Even us, we're like, okay, you pass certain parts and you're like, okay, you got to hold your breath and whatever. But
it's like that everywhere, though. Every state.
I'm from Colorado, and there's a town called Greeley, which is outside of Denver, and it's a big like meat processing, and I think also the Purina factory is out there, and they have a small college, and a lot of my friends went to college at UNC, and so I went and did my check the college out, and you get into Greeley, and man, you're like, what is that smell?
Yeah.
You get hit with that meat processing and dog food processing plant all in one, and they're like, you get used to it, you don't even notice it after a while. And I'm like, I think I will.
There's a city just south of Seattle called Tacoma. Well, not just south. It's called Tacoma. And the joke was, you're in Tacoma when you can smell the aroma because it's all these cattle farms down there.
Yeah.
You know, all these dairy farms and whatnot. And I mean, it wasn't rendering, but 5 minutes before that, smelling the air, it smells fine. You get right in there, it's like it hits you like a lead pipe.
And all those damn hippies with their patchouli.
It's right. Take a bath.
Yeah, take a bath. Try something called deodorant, and get a job.
Like just rubbing rocks in their armpits, thinking that works. Come on.
Hey, Kev, Sergio has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Sergio. I'm not on top of things. Sergio's asking basically, he asks all the time, but so Vince, are you into horror at all? Or is this like your
not at all. Not at all. I hate horror because I seriously. So I grew up with some great, horror classics, The Omen and the Brian De Palma stuff, that real just suspenseful. And I stopped enjoying going to see horror stuff because it scared the bejesus out of me. And then, it's sort of the horror community went into this Saw, Hostile, like let's cut off body parts thing. And I was just like, I'm done with, horror and gore. And now I'm swimming in it, which is great. But if this has been sort of my reintroduction, and then watching Andy's pieces, Funhouse Massacre and Camp Cold Brook, so it's been a nice re-entry into the horror world. But
there's so many subgenres. Like you can find one that you may not absolutely be in love with it, but you'll find one he's like, okay, this isn't going to be terrifying all the time, or it's not going to be disgusting all the time. That's what I love about it.
I have a very good friend who is a stand-up, and he loves suspense and horror, and he'll invite me over all the time. He's like, we're watching Annabelle tonight, and I'll get like a half hour, and I'm like, okay, I'm gone. That's it.
Yeah,
that's why he doesn't watch Hostel. He wants to be able to travel the world without worrying about whether or not he lands in Eastern.
He's like, I'd like to go to Eastern Europe and find some hookers that aren't going to torture me to death.
What's also interesting is that, but I have found the horror community and the voiceover community to be so similar in terms of their appreciation of the work, which is really wonderful. And the people that we've now met in the horror world are just as nice and quirky and wacky as the voiceover people, but just so genuine and authentic with their adoration of the work and of the personalities that make the work. So that's been really cool.
Yeah. Just real quick, Tony Gannat, he also knows is Mr. Tony the Dead, wants to bring up that he came in as we were talking about the stink, and he assumed it was New Jersey, and he was correct.
He is correct. You are correct. You're going to the bonus round, Tony.
Yes, and he also wanted to make sure that he's saying hi.
Tony,
usually the high comes before the question.
Is that a picture of a bearded John Candy? Is that what he's got going on?
Yeah. It was a little
I love John Candy. If I could remake, like, there's a couple movies that I would want to remake. Summer Rental is one of my all-time favorites.
I think I saw that. In the theater.
Carl Reiner made like these gems in the mid '80s. He made Summer Rental and he made Summer School, which are they're fucking classics, man.
Summer School is the reason I tracked down Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because I wanted to see what they were talking about. That's the reason I went and got it. And then
so I geeked out yesterday for some. I don't know if you guys have noticed on Facebook, but there's this new there's this whole thing where they're wanting you to add more friends. They have this whole thing where it's like this row of things where it's
follow this person. Yeah.
I had 6 connections to Dean Cameron, evidently, who played Chainsaw. And so I was like, would you like to add Dean Cameron as your friend? And I was like,
yes,
I fucking do want to add Dean Cameron. And so I clicked it, and he accepted. I am friends with Chainsaw from Summer.
That's awesome.
And
fuck off! I'm friends with Charlene Tilton.
Oh, are you really? Oh, that's awesome.
Yes. Ooh. But I know exactly what you mean. It's so cool.
Yes. It's awesome. I'm like, I'm thinking, I'm never gonna reach out to him, but just the fact that I'm friends with Chainsaw is awesome.
So that's exciting for you, but it's exciting for us when people agree to come on the show and do, so this is
now
It's
you guys
weird.
have a connection to Dean Cameron.
Right. So what you're trying to tell me is now I'm friends with Chainsaw in a roundabout way.
Yeah, you aren't. 6
Sure,
years.
and one of his better. I mean, Summer School was good, but I also liked him in Ski School.
Oh, ski school movies are amazing. And when they did I don't know if you guys watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but they did an episode dedicated to 80s like sex comedy ski movies, which was hysterical. And Dean Cameron is also amazing in Men at Work, the Charlie Sheen and Emilio.
Charlie, that's the best movie.
Plays the
That's
pizza
right.
man that they kidnap, and he's hysterical. He's amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll see him in a movie with Andy Palmer's name on it.
I'm gonna reach out. I don't know what
Nice.
it's gonna be. But
Well,
You know what? If you're looking for someone else to be in that movie, I know this guy named Vince that maybe also willing to work with Chainsaw.
Vince is always-
and Vince is good friends with
Vince is part
Charlotte
of the
Tilton.
family,
So
Vince is part of the
I gotta weigh into Charlene. I mean, sorry for the bad joke. I'd love to have a weigh into Charlene.
Dean Cameron and Charlene Tilton as husband and wife.
Just saying. But yeah, that like so after summer school, I went and I found Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is my favorite horror movie of all time, and it's because of summer school. So, and summer school I think is just great, anyways. But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
They don't make movies like that anymore. They need to.
No, good stuff, man. Just
Yeah.
good stuff.
Everyone's too jaded.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Texas Chainsaw though, I didn't watch it as a kid. I watched it later. I bought the first time I saw it was when they did the 4K like Upmaster and stuff like that. The first time I'd watched parts of it on cable.
Yeah.
And I really watched it all the way through. And man, it is just like you just look at like Tobe Hooper. It is like visceral. It is just like you're just in it with these guys, and like you fucking feel it, man. It is. Yeah. It's rough. And it's
luckily,
still
I was
holds up,
able.
man.
It does. Luckily, I was able to have somewhat of a little connection with Gunnar before he passed. I worked for a company that his wife was a assistant manager at a store that I was her auditor
His wife
for.
was his girlfriend.
I said his wife, but I don't know. It was one or the other. They were together forever, but he lived in Maine, and so like he would do the conventions around here a lot.
Yeah.
And he knew that I worked there, so he would sign stuff. I know where you work instead of I know where you live.
That's
He was
awesome.
good. He was a good guy, and he's missed for sure.
Yeah.
But anyways, I keep bringing everything down. So you had the. Go ahead, Tony.
No, I was gonna say Vince brought up how the horror fans are I don't even know, like accepting or whatever it is. Did you get to do like a convention run at all? Like, because I know with horror, there's mostly horror movie conventions, but now little different. They're like, what was it? The Christmas movie convention they were doing all this stuff. But
a lot of the cast that's in this, I see them at comic book conventions.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of crossover there, and I've even seen some of those, because some of them have been in Rob Zombie movies and stuff like that. So they'll pop up at horror conventions as well.
No, we literally hit Ha the week we hit Ha, and then we had gotten into Horror Hound, and Horror Hound was 2 weeks later, and the whole next week it was Vince, myself, Carlos, and Jill on the phone being like, should we go to Ohio and do this? Like, it was like we didn't know what was going on with the pandemic, and the day we decided to call it was the day the NBA called it. Called the season, and we were like, there's no way a money machine like that shuts down unless this is a real thing, and so we all canceled, and it ended up that Horror Hound got canceled I think 2-3 days later. So,
I can't wait for it to come back.
And I was so excited because I'm a huge, I don't know if you guys have ever been to Horror Hound in Indianapolis or in Ohio, but they do a really good job. And I've been able to go like 3 or 4 times, and I just was so excited to take these guys because the horror community is just like, I always say this about horror fans is it's an interesting dynamic of making horror movies, because there's so many bad horror movies that horror fans usually go into a movie wanting to hate it because they're so used to bad movies,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like they kind of go in and you're like, I want to shit on this movie. And then if you win them over, they're the nicest, most loyal, like they're with you till the end. Like, it's like I can make hits and misses. I've certainly made hits and misses. But like I've had people that fucking hated Camp Cold Brook, and have hit me up and been like, witness infection, you're completely redeemed, and all right, you know, it's like they never like write you off forever, you know, and so
I loved
they're
Camp
just
Cold
the
Brook.
coolest people ever.
I did too. I mean, I don't know. Like it's something where I actually like to see like people's earlier work that may not be so great. You know, I love that stuff. I mean, I like to see promise and like to see progression.
It's
as
a
well.
evolution.
Weird thing in film is that like, you know, we grow up, I think, as filmmakers, you idolize the guys that like did it right off the bat. You know, like it's just like, you know, I came up when I wanted to become a filmmaker, I was looking at guys like Tarantino and Rodriguez and you know, Soderbergh and some of these are, you know, Kevin Smith, like these guys are all guys that made these huge movies when they were 22 years old.
Yeah.
And they just seem to know everything, you know, and you're like, wow, how did, you know, I could do that. You know, it seems so attainable, but then you get into it and you're like, this is a craft. And you look at those guys are like LeBron. Those are guys that just like went to the pros right out of high school. They're insanely talented human beings, beyond talented human beings. And so like, I had to come to grips with like being Horace Grant, you know, I'm just like, all right, I'm going to make an okay movie and I'm going to stay in the league. You know, I'm going to make another movie and hopefully it's a little better. And they just, you know, hopefully they just kind of progressively get better and better, you know, and that's something that some filmmakers should look at doing too. And I think Vince, being an actor, is the same way. It's just like, you're constantly honing your craft, constantly training yourself. And then, you know, you're an overnight success 25 years later, right?
It's just the way it happens, but you gotta stay in the game. I mean, you just gotta keep working and there's our good friend Tony. So.
Yeah. Basically, yeah, he's saying that like a lot of times, and I'm a big fan of this as well. And this is why I'm hoping that when this comes out, because I can imagine there being some like really cool outtakes from this movie. But he's pointing out that like sometimes you may not love a movie, but then you watch the special features and you know, your respect for it grows because you see almost the struggles that they've gone through to make the movie. You know, and it's, you know, you find a new love for it because you're like, oh, geez, they really made this work, even though they were dealing with this crap. You know, like.
We do have a lot of great outtakes in this movie, which when we do have the Laserdisc edition of the movie. But what was really interesting, I think, are some of the other stories where you're just some of the scenes are literally at the end of the winery. It's 4:00 in the morning and it's 35 degrees.
Yeah.
Where we're just literally huddled around a space heater. Just like sort of more camaraderie of a you know, low budget movie and everyone just sort of pulling it together. Yeah, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I love doing the podcast, is because you hear the, like, I don't want to say I was one of those jaded fans or whatever. I say this a lot, but I look at movies so much differently now, having people come on and tell, you know, the behind the scenes. And like, I never knew, you know, what it, like when I was watching movies, I wasn't thinking of, you know, okay, you have a 10-day span to tape this and, you know, 3 days out of that, it rains or whatever happens. So much stuff can happen in it that I didn't take into account. I think a lot of the, you know, your everyday film watchers don't think of it that way either until they do sit down, maybe watch the special features and be like, oh, I didn't know this happened or what was going on. Like the commentaries and stuff, you learn so much that, okay, I didn't realize this happened, or you switch stuff in the middle of it and you're, you know, doing what you can. And it's sad, but it's one of those things where that's why I look at movies completely different.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you a, for instance, Andy, excuse me for 1 second.
No.
When in the reveal of the deer head, that was shot in a park, Andy.
Yeah, it was like a city park in like Monrovia. Yeah.
And our set guy put up, I mean, just an amazing Greg Armstrong, fabricated street lights because there were no lights there because it's this,
just,
you know, wilderness
in that park. Yeah.
So we get there, there's nothing, but it's freezing, and all of a sudden, like, you know, a half hour later, there's now a street with street lights. But sort of getting back to it, we go, you know, actors start really modest, where they're like, you I have to change into my wardrobe. I'll go into my trailer, and then a week in, they're like, "The hell with this! I'm changing in front of everybody." They're just so tired of it.
You become family. You become family very fast, and
really
it is.
quickly.
It's like, and I appreciate and that's why I love doing these, because podcasts is like you guys get into it and you get to interact and stuff like that, and it is frustrating sometimes when you get like a critic that just shits all over your work and stuff like that, and you're like, well, dude, you don't know, but again, like, they don't know, and so you can't get mad at it. You just be like, hey, man, sorry,
the one thing that we kind of touch on a lot is there's a lot of people who are very critical of things, which I can understand, but if they have actually something to say, then that's good. But most of the time they don't. They're just like, oh, I don't like it. Why? I just don't like it. Tell me why. Just tell me why you don't like it. Like,
guttural. It's a guttural thing. You can like just feel like you not like it, but you can't look at it and just be like, well, the only thing that I will ever be like, fuck you to a critic is when they go, I could have done that better, and I'm like, because you wouldn't.
That's the other thing that
is so fucking hard.
Yeah,
make
it forever. Yeah.
That's the other thing that we kind of hit the head on here at Wicked Horror is like, we might not like a movie.
Yeah.
And we go, I just didn't, it didn't connect with us. But we're never gonna crap on it enough to say, we're not gonna just tear it through and shred it and say what it's called a piece of garbage, because we've never made a movie. We don't know what it takes.
Right. We've heard stories. Like, we've had filmmakers come on and like the movie is like completely edited, and someone breaks into the house and steals the hard drives.
Oh, God.
Now they have to re-edit the whole movie.
Yes. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And it's
legal snafus. I had a buddy that I think the movie is eventually going to come out, but I helped do some editing for the film, and then also edited the trailer for them and stuff like that. And they get caught up in this like legal squabble. It's been like 4 years, and that guy's just still sitting on something he just worked so hard for. Any little thing can happen. It's really hard. And it was funny. I was watching an interview with David Fincher, who I love. Zodiac's like top 5 favorite movie for me. I watch it like 2-3 times a year, and like but it's like my kingdom to be able to have the freedom that David Fincher has. He said this something. It was like he says it's always weird to me that we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on this set. I spend thousands and thousands of dollars on this camera. I spent millions of dollars on this top tier actor to come in and be in my film. And then my entire goal is to get them out as quickly as humanly possible. And that's making, and I'm like, that is an excellent point, but that is not realistic for 99% of filmmakers. Like, he shoots movies for 150 days. He can take 3 days to shoot a 2-minute scene. We're doing 9 pages in a day, and it's like, that's the reality for most filmmakers, is like, you have 12 hours to solve as many problems as you possibly can,
And see, I'm more impressed with you and the other people, Carpenter and all these other people that say Halloween was made in 18 days.
Yeah.
From start to finish. 1978.
Yeah.
For $300,000
film. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For $300,000 using film, 18 days. And now it's all digital. And you guys are, you said this was 15 days. I just lose my mind every time I hear people say, well, we did this. If it's less than a month, I'm like, what the hell? How are you cranking it out?
20 days is comfortable for most movies. 20 days is like, that's comfortable for most movies. You can make a really.
I can't even read a book in 20 days. I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
I can't even get through a whole book in 20 days.
Yeah.
I'm just like it takes a while.
You can do a movie in 20 days, but anything less is a struggle, and anything more is a gift. Like that, yeah.
So I'm more impressed with like I said, you and the other independent directors that do it in that crazy amount of time.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Here's what I'm impressed with. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Vince.
I love when you have a celebrity who does a passion project, and then they break it down and they go, we really had our hands tied. We got this done for under $20 million.
Yeah. That's always a really good one. You're like, wow, million. You say, but it's like, but you don't know, and it's like, you don't know. I did a thing a couple weeks ago, and it was a camera. It was a favor for a friend, and it was a camera test for they're trying to get a project off the ground, and it's a biography, and they had an A-list actress that wanted to play this part, but she didn't know if she could like take on this role, so she wanted to do a camera test, and they didn't have any budget. They're just trying to get this movie off the ground, and they wanted me to come in and kind of help direct it. And I was like, guys, we got to get like, I got to have a little lighting, I got to have a real camera. I was like, this person has never not been on a set in her life that didn't have 100 people surrounding her. So like you're thinking we should just shoot her with an iPhone so she can see what she looks like. If we show up with an iPhone, she will not know how to deal with that. And it's not because she's vapid or a jerk. It's that she's used to everything being around her, this entire universe being around her. I was like, you're never gonna see her if she can really do it, because she's gonna be like, oh, this is Scooby-Doo, man. Like, what are we doing here? You know? So
You guys,
it was like a couple lights. We had a professional camera. Had a little dolly action, and she came out and she was like, oh, this is great. This is so perfect. Thanks for coming out. And she did all this amazing stuff. And, so it's just like, you have to know like what people are used to and stuff like that,
Yeah.
You guys will appreciate this. So Andy was recutting the trailer that you showed. And in order to make just a little bit of sense out of the trailer, he calls me and he says, I need you to redo this line. I need a quick, VO. Yeah. And I grabbed my phone.
Yeah.
I put it on the stand a few feet away from me, and I sent it back to him in 5 minutes. He's like, perfect, we got it. I mean, it's really amazing what you can cheat, what you can do, but that would have never happened in a big movie. They would have had to schedule a day and rent out a video studio.
Yeah, for sure.
It would have cost more than I make in a year.
Right.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
Andy,
cool.
You still owe me for that video.
Absolutely.
Roughly more than I make in a year. All right, cool. So anyways, but we are done. We're at the hour mark, so we have to wrap things up. So thank you very much, guys. And you can obviously you can check out the movie wherever it's it's streaming everywhere, so you can go rent it. And then also keep your eyes out. So where can people find out when the physical release is happening?
I will find out from Freestyle. I'll reach out to them because I keep checking and it's not available yet. But I think to get like the better slots on the VOD, they do like a 30-day window, and we only came out like 2 weeks ago. So I would say probably another 2 weeks, and we're gonna start seeing it pop up on all the Best Buy and Walmart and all that kind of stuff.
Cool. Well, yeah.
So
it's
Andy,
a really fun movie. Just in general, I mean, it's lighthearted, but it's also gory and cool at the same time, and it's got a lot of my favorite people in it. So it's and some new favorite people.
Perfect. Yes, for sure, man. For sure.
I'm talking about Vince.
So
Andy, go on.
I will. Sorry.
I say, so Andy, when it does come to physical media, you got to promise, man. You got to see how many people you can get to do a commentary, because I want to hear that. That's my favorite thing. That's my favorite thing on like Blu-rays and DVDs, is to have like the cast and the crew sit there and just I remember doing this scene. This is we went through 23 takes, and it was the 13th one that was the best one or something like that.
I think Vince,
if there was commentary though, that would
go. I think Vince, we need to go to your house and cook a big Italian dinner in your beautiful kitchen, and then sit down and watch the movie while we're munching on pasta.
I'm so down with that.
That'd be fun. We would have like, oh my gosh, the stories we can tell. I think that'd be a good idea.
Just remember to leave the gun and grab the cannoli.
That's right. That's right.
Anyways, so where can people find you if they're looking to follow your work? So Vince, are you on social media and stuff? Like
I am. You can find me on Instagram, Vince Donvito 7, and on Facebook, Vince Donvito. So it's this pretty face you'll see, right, Tony?
Facebook,
of course,
for me too. At director Andy Palmer on Insta, and just Andy Palmer on Facebook.
Nice. Wolfie, where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube, The 13th Wolfman, Twitter at The 13th Wolfman, Tumblr, 13th Wolfman, The Prowl. Doing the Wicked Horror Reviews with Kev every other week. I'm doing the Wicked Horror Show, and check out my YouTube. I'm throwing something new up all the time. Tony, what about you?
You can find me at Tony Has 9 Fingers on YouTube, where I do movie reviews, unboxings, anything movie related. I'm doing on there. Tony Has 9 Fingers on TikTok now that I do movie reviews.
Tony's talking.
Yeah.
Tony's Movies on Instagram, where I show off the movies behind me, and of course here every Tuesday on the Wicked Horror Show. Kevin?
Just A Knuckle on Instagram, and every Tuesday, obviously here. And I'm also doing reviews with Wolfie, and I'm part of Black and White Fright and Secret Underground Hideout, all of which are on the Dorkening Podcast Network. So go to thedorkening.com for more information on that. Thanks again, and go, pre-order, or not pre-order, just go get the VOD for Witness Infection, and then buy it when it comes out on physical media.
Hell yeah.
And that's about that. Thanks
All
for listening,
around.
everybody. And thanks to everyone in the chat room. Daniel, John, Sergio, and Tony. Thanks again, and have a good night. Goodbye.
Thanks, guys.